All right, in this lecture, you're going to learn about Bootstrap. And you may already know about Bootstrap, but for those who don't, Bootstrap in a nutshell makes it very easy to have a nice looking website. Let's go ahead and check out the website of theirs. I think it explains it a lot better, but in a new tab here, let's go to getbootstrap.com. I'm going to close out of some of my other tabs here. Oops, misspelled. Getbootstrap.com. What? Nick misspelled something? Yeah, that's not new, is it? But the basic idea behind Bootstrap is they've kind of made a lot of common things that people do with websites and sort of streamline them. They make it really easy for your website to look good on a big desktop screen or on like a tiny small iPhone. It's a really nice framework. So you don't have to have this, but I think this provides a nice touch for our websites to make them look great. So I could do a whole course on this. In fact, I made a previous course on HTML5 and Bootstrap 3. We're currently on Bootstrap 4 about this. So I'm not going to attempt to teach you everything that there is about Bootstrap. There's lots of great documentation here on their website and, you know, tutorials, other courses out there. But I at least want to show you the ropes, and I'm going to put it with our projects because I want them to just look great, and we can do it pretty minimally without a lot of effort here. So let's go ahead and go to the examples. I have one that I especially love that I think is going to look great into what we're doing, and it's this very first one called album. So if we go ahead and look at our drawing here, right, like we want to have some information about ourselves, an email button and a picture, and then these little job postings, right? Well, you look at what we have here, yeah, it's basically everything that we're looking for, except it doesn't have the picture, and we'll learn how to add that in. So the great thing about these examples here, if you just go ahead and click on them, you can see what they look like inside of a browser. But to get the HTML behind them, you just have to view the page source, and you can copy and paste that into your projects. Pretty great. So like I said, you see all these little, you know, this is eventually where our products are going to go. And so that's going to be great for us. So let's go ahead and right click this, and we are going to do the show page source. And I'm just going to select all, copy, and then paste this into our home.html. Now this is way more than we want. Like we're going to have to start sort of chopping away from the things here, but this is an awesome starting point. And the first thing here, you'll notice if we save this and then we go to our website, reload the page, well, it looks nothing like what we had on the Bootstrap version. And that's because there's a lot of things that we got to get access to, and essentially like the Bootstrap code, like we have to bring that into our project. And so you'll notice here, if we go to our code, for example, up at the top, there's a CSS file. CSS allows us to make our HTML pretty. Basically, you can apply like styles and colors, all these different things. But they had reference to it on their actual website. We instead, if we go back to the website here, can get direct access to the code, and we can just use a CDN, which I believe stands for Content Delivery Network, that just basically makes it so it can auto load this from a website. And if any other websites use that same link, it will be cached inside of user's browser, which will make it that much faster to load our page. So let's go ahead and go back to home here. I believe there it is right on the home page here, the Bootstrap CDN. So here's the link for the CSS and then the JavaScript that we need down below. So let's go ahead and copy the line for the CSS. We're going to copy that, come back and paste that here. Okay, so now we have the CSS from Bootstrap. There's also a link here to go do some custom stuff in our own CSS file. We don't need that right now, so let's just go ahead and delete all of that. So if we save this and then come back to our website, reload that page, this is going to look a lot better. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to look a lot better. So we'll wait a second here. I think the website's going out and trying to get the Bootstrap code from CDN. All right, so here it is. It's looking better. It's not exactly great yet, and part of that's because we don't have the images and whatnot. But we've got to bring over some other files. So as you can see on the website, Bootstrap also uses some JavaScript to make code look great. So we're going to select these 3 lines of code, copy that, come back to Atom here, and if we scroll down to the very, very bottom of the page, you can see this is where they referenced their JavaScript files, and they even had some extra ones there, but we just want to go ahead and select all of these scripts, delete that, and we're going to paste in those 3 lines, okay? So we'll go ahead and save that. Let's now reload our home page one more time. Let's see what this looks like. So again, might take a little bit of a second here because we've got to go out and get this JavaScript. I will say one thing, if you're going out and you want to learn more about Bootstrap, on their website, a great place to look for that is in their documentation and search for the grid. So they have this whole system for about when you go from a big site down to a smaller one, how the content on your website should be handled, and the grid system is great at explaining that or handling that. So if you just go ahead into the search box here and you search for grid, you're going to get some awesome resources that are going to help you move in that direction. But looks like our page loaded up here, so you can see, it's not that much different. In fact, I don't even know if it really changed anything, but that's going to be important for us for especially things like this, like when we scale the website to a certain place, we're going to have this little menu pop up like there, and we need the JavaScript enabled in order to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start changing this to be more of what we want it to be. So I think the simplest way to approach this is let's just go top to bottom on this website, right? We can take a look at our sketch and then sort of just move down bit by bit until we have what we need. So the first thing that we should start with is the navigation bar up at the top. So in Bootstrap, that's called the nav bar for short, and we could roll with what we have here. It's not exactly the functionality that we're looking for. So, like we could go to the Atom here. All the code for this is up at the top of the page inside of this header tag. But I think it's better just to sort of start from scratch here. And in fact, there's a really great example in the documentation. So if you go to documentation and then search for navbar, we want to pull up the documentation on navbar. If you scroll down here, it's telling you about all the different kinds. There's one with the search box there, brand, all that stuff. But here under the nav section, under the big, so first nav bar, then nav, you can see there's an example here. What's really cool about this one is if you scroll the window smaller, look at that, you get that cool little hamburger menu there. And if we pull it back out, then it goes and lists everything. So it's kind of cool that, like I said, Bootstrap makes your websites look great on a desktop and also on mobile. So there's 2 ones here. This first one uses an unordered list and list items. This next one down here does the exact same functionality. I just think it handles it much more gracefully. And this is just using A tags here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and copy all of this code for this nav. So go ahead and copy that. And then we're going to go back to our Atom code, and here inside of the header we're going to delete everything. So we need to go back down to the next header tag, go ahead, delete all that, and then we're going to paste in this one. So depending on what sort of text editor that you're using, sometimes with HTML it can be really hard to make sure everything's indented properly. I know on Atom here, if you select everything, then do an edit and then go down to lines and then do auto indent, it'll move things to the correct position for you. This doesn't, our code could be tabbed over like this, doesn't change the functionality, but for us visually to understand what's going on, I recommend getting something to help you sort of get this in the right direction. So the first thing we have here is this header tag. This doesn't mean anything. This is more for organizational purposes. But here inside of here, it says, okay, we're making this thing called the nav, and we want it to be able to expand it, but it has the appearance here of navbar light. So if we save this and then go back to our home page and reload this, yeah, I think it might look a little bit better dark. So luckily we can change that. We just have to go navbar here and change this from light, navbar dash light to navbar dash dark, and the background from light to dark. So we'll go ahead and save that. Let's reload this page. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And look, we still get that cool functionality of when we go to a certain place that turns to the hamburger menu, we hit that and it shows our options down there. But how do we put in the appropriate things that we want? And especially, how do we make it so that these buttons are showing up on the right side rather than the left if we go back to our